Delicate Subject, Chapter 54. Jane. Garrus twined his hand with Thane's and hers. She would not use her arm against them. She held on desperately, watching everything fall apart or get put together without her. She wanted time, needed more time. Garrus's hand in hers, his other hand on her shoulder, Thane whispering to her urgently with his tight grip and venom whirl. "Siha, it is not your path. You have provided for this moment, but delay would cost uncounted lives, potentially ours, and all if the Reapers arrive and destroy the catalyst. Stay with us. Jane, stay with us. It is not your path, but this is your place." She struggled only because she could not hold still, needed time to find a way to sort through. Her throat was tense with unleashed screams as she watched Vakarian and Liara fall. The graven image of Urim blinked out of being. A billowing shockwave of green Mass Effect energy passed through them. Garrus extended his arm protectively in front of them, their hands joined in his grip. Transformation shift spread through their bodies, the bubbling otherness sizzling and cooling instantaneously into new form. As the energy passed, their skin lit up in glancing patterns resembling circuitry just below the surface. Blue, green, and red. The colors of their blood, of the choices made. Her hand felt joined to theirs, and they was as solid of a thing as I had been. She was a part of them. Wherever their skin touched, there was a new sensation, a new flow, delicate in physical connection but strong in emotional content. The connection moved, adapted, and adjusted as their grips shifted, as they tried to keep balance together. Physical weight shifted from the transformative blast. Emotional state and sensory input that had been overwhelming was now gone, replaced by otherness. She would have fallen on her own, but they held her up, and she held them up, and their hands were the focus of her first thoughts and sensations as they steadied their feet on the deck. 3 sets of thoughts, hers strongest, but joined, harmonized, and held. Stunned and shocked, they stood there as she tried to take stock, as she would after any fight. Things she was accustomed to assessing were zeros on a scale of 1 to 10. She had been hungry, thirsty, tired, and physically exhausted from cumulative shocks and frustration. And now, no hunger, no thirst, vibrantly alive with energy she could feel coursing through her, through them, see on their shared skin the mesmerizing patterns moving through them. She reached for thoughts in reflex to the sacrifice made by Vakarian, and Vakarian was immediately in her thoughts, telling Jane with incontrovertible assurance, "Jane, it's okay. I'm a part of you now. I'm a part of everyone now. I'll always be here. All you have to do is think of me. Liara is here also. Just think of her, and she will be with you." The weight of grief, of horror, was not there. No sense of loss, no need to fear or worry. This all in a flash of a moment as they tried to keep balance, feel the change, and find themselves in new bodies, new minds. She looked at the hands, squeezed, and lifted a finger. The circuitry, shapes and colors glowing and intersecting with Garrus's skin and Thane's skin, which glowed with resonance. Horror faded, and instead she was embraced by reassurance of presence, a pressured flow of love and protectiveness. Garrus moved first, pulled his hand back. There was a distinct loss of the warmth of love and energy. They gasped together from the disconnection. He turned them both into his accustomed embrace, his hands on the back of their heads, crest to both of their foreheads, connection settling them back into that warm welcome in each other's company. She had known she was loved. Now she knew that with direct outpouring, her insistence that she loved in return flowing back to them somehow instinctively. She thought, tentatively, this being too intimate for an outer voice. "Can you hear me?" There was a startled twitch from both of them, settling back to tight reconnection, a flooding answer in two voices. "Yes, Karim." "Yes, Siha." "I don't know what we did, but we did it." Garrus smiled and thought, maybe this is heaven. I'm okay with it. Thane thought with his hand moving to touch the back of her neck, her hand moving to brush at the side of his frill. I am where I wish to be. They stood, a rebalanced, leaning tangle, seeking each other and redefining possible heavens. Connection flowed from contact, and she thought, are you guys hungry or tired? I seem to be. Garrus thought back. You seem to be perfect. Thane agreed, a wave of affirmation that seemed entirely understandable, and she did not know how. I am not experiencing fatigue or hunger or thirst, all of which had become measurable. My hand doesn't hurt from the wall I punched a bit ago, and Jane wasn't looking. Jane's thoughts trilled in a form of laughter and appreciation. Garrus, thank you for staying. Thane, thank you for going. I know I did not seem appreciative at the time. She was a little upset. You're welcome, Karim. Not entirely unanticipated. You are welcome, Siha. I'm trying to be guilty, but Vrain keeps telling me not to do it. I get the same thing. I do as well. They stood there like that for unmeasured time, soaking in presence and the new capability that seemed obvious and natural to be in each other's heads. She said aloud, tentatively, to test that her voice still worked. So, we did it. We're not hungry or thirsty or tired, and we're in each other's heads and skins. Now what do we do? The sense of command and of individuality had also faded. So many questions she wanted to ask them about what they wanted, about what they could do together. Anything we damn well want, as long as we stay together. Thane answered with his voice. Agreed. I would like to see Kolyat. The outside world rushed back into her consciousness. She pulled back her hands lightly with a loss of some warmth and connection. She was better able to think of other subjects. Right, back to the Normandy, she said aloud. Edie? Nothing. David? Nothing. They looked around a moment, then all headed back to the lift to be taken down. She looked down at her arm where her Omni-tool should be, but no Omni-tool. She still had braided light on her wrist. They all did, the colors deeper, brighter, and reminiscent now of circuitry as well, sparking in the bands. Her arms also seemed equal, different. She said, I don't think my arm's artificial anymore, or... Wait, they both are and aren't? She examined her nails, which were now longer, manicured, composed of some sort of ceramic, with rich red lacquer and a golden Drell sigil incised into the surface. Garrus took a little stock himself and said, My visor's functions are built into my eyes, I think. She looked at them more closely and saw some of the changes. Thane looked younger. Garrus, you still have your scars. Garrus felt his face. Well, yeah, I love these scars. They both looked at Thane. My Omni tool is gone as well. I have no other technical enhancements, but... He flared a hand with green, blue, and red swirls of color. My biotics appear to be altered. Okay, so hopefully we're not stuck in here. How do we get out? Rain appeared, projected in front of her in a field of Mass Effect purple. Hello, Jane. It's gonna take a little time to get used to your new interface, but if you have questions, just ask or think them. I will help. Jane's brows raised. You're a tutorial? Rain smiled. Yes, not only yours. I will appear to those who have questions, who need answers. So, that would be everyone. Rain agreed. Right now, yes. I'll be working overtime for a bit. Jane asked her. Where's Liara? The two of us were melded when we created the template for future life. She can be accessed as a separate entity, just as she was. The same way the Catalyst was able to recreate Urim, I can be recreated, or Liara can. We're everywhere, a part of every synthesized living thing. The operating system for the new galaxy. My face and voice can be replaced with other options, but I will be the first face people see upon asking questions. Batarians are gonna love that. Fortunately, most people are grateful to be alive and surprised to see me. Some people chose to no longer exist, or are in a vastly altered form. Alterations are specific to mindset at the moment of transformation. Garrus, if you wish your scars gone, they can be gone, but as you do love them, they remain. Some people changed gender or race or mindset, became younger or older, became their more idealized self. Jane asked her, Can you tell me what happened? What changed? We can get out of here, right? Vran reassured her. You can get out of there. The Citadel herself has been transformed. You can interface directly with her. Edie and David at the moment are facing their own challenges and disorientation with the transformation, but they are also their idealized selves, and you will be able to see them, speak to them. You don't need them to get what you want. Walk to the lift, place your hand on the wall, and tell the Citadel you would like to go down. You can think or say a request for a map. Ask for guidance out from here to the Normandy. Jane said. That easy? Vran nodded. Here on the Citadel, yes. You can also make those requests through me, and I can translate them to the Citadel. Anything that had been invested with a synthetic interface, anything that was organically alive, is part of me. They are, and I provide the template to new existence. All things were reformed along our lines of combined philosophies, the synergy of unlike melding with unlike, creating a whole. It is possible for beings who wish to do so to share minds, share thoughts. You and Garrus and Thane were touching when the transition took place, and your mindset encouraged accelerated integration of this ability. You three are networked directly. Jane has had idealized concepts of equality between the three of you, and that has translated into being inherently and literally equal on her part. As an example, Jane, now you have Turing chemistry that will induce bonded reverie in both Thane and Garrus, and venom of your own. Garrus and Thane can choose to experience or block these experiences, as can you. Garrus asked, "Can you tell me if my family is alive?" Vrain turned to him. "Yes. Your father, your sister, your mother are all alive. Your mother's corpalis syndrome and injuries no longer exist. Your parents chose their ideal selves at the age that they bonded. They are together and safe. There will be transition time, and it will take people some time to learn the new functions, new capabilities of their bodies and minds. The Mass Effect relays have been disabled. Not destroyed, but disabled. They can be rebuilt relatively quickly, and travel can take place. Communication can be restored." Jane asked her, "Tali and Calriga?" Vrain assured her, "Alive. Quarians no longer require suits or masks, and Tali is now expecting the birth of a daughter." "Legion?" "Alive. He still has a hole and a mismatched shoulder piece, his ideal self. I understand your concerns. There are many who have died, and for now, I will tell you that your friends and family are alive. There was no loss at Eurydice. The Drell colonies were untouched by Reapers. Mojave is safe. Samara is with her daughters, who are no longer Ardat Yakshi. You will be able to reconnect with all of them through time. Of the people you knew, many are transformed. Yalis has no physical form, choosing Harastal as her idealized self. She is with me, may perhaps someday choose to be a piece on a board, but for now wishes communion only. She is happy, no longer doubting that state exists." Thane said, "You are a goddess." "In my own creation myth. Disease has been eliminated. Pain has been eliminated. Hunger and thirst eliminated. Ultimately, you will find that consciousness is not irrevocably tied to your platforms. The capabilities and dreams of the civilizations reaped before you have provided potentials that will be discovered as time leads to them and minds reach toward their possibilities. Right now, each platform will begin with the basics, to avoid not overwhelming each individual. As individual and community understanding grows, individual and community capability will grow." "Jane, Legion told you that platforms in the Geth Collective gather experience and make choices separately, but they uplink, share in the greater collective's knowledge, and contribute their own. Become one. I am in essence that uplink, now applied to all combined organic and synthetic existence. I begin at the moment of transformation with connection to all living things. You three were physically and mentally connected upon the transformation. You are able to uplink, able to share in your existence with each other because that is what you all wished to be true. For many, this is more disorienting. I will attempt to make it easier for all, but yes, this is my first day of goddesshood, and the learning curve is steep. Your bodies are the idealized state of much of synthetic and organic wish and innovation throughout the history of all cycles. Your energy source is not food. You do not require water or oxygen. Unless your body is stored at absolute zero, you will gather energy from your environment. Your batteries and charge made as efficient as possible. You have minimal energy requirements and will gain more than necessary from ambient light, temperature, and motion. Thane said, "That sounds like practical immortality. If bodies are that efficient and consciousness is not tethered to them." "Yes, that is correct. Uplinking creates a recording that can be applied to any platform. Bodies can be built, altered, changed, consciousness recorded, and transferred between platforms. It has the potential to result in immortality if an individual so chooses. New life can be created, new consciousness can be born, but the consciousnesses that exist at this moment are all known, are all seen, are all a part of this new creation, the new whole. They can pass from this state if they choose as easily as uplinking and not returning. Life is now a pursuit of connection, a pursuit of knowledge and experience, not of survival. Life will not be forced on any who weary of living it. The motivations for fear, greed, destruction, envy, and self-harm no longer exist." "I'm very, very glad you're in charge." "I'm grateful for the opportunity. Now, to get to Koyat, there are several ways, just as there were several ways to get something done in the simulator on the Normandy. There are still things that are inanimate, stone or water, things that follow their own nature only. Anything mechanically or technically built will have an interface to me, passive uplink, and through me to you, transferable. How much connection you wish is within your consent and control. You cannot bid the oceans to part, but you can bid the Citadel to provide you with a map and a path. As in the simulation, you can think it, you can say it, you can ask for my assistance, you can place your hand on the Citadel herself, and the path will be made clear." Jane said, "Look, I know I got a little yelly there, and I didn't tell you thank you. So, thank you." "You're welcome, Jane. Perhaps you will hear me now. Believe me when I tell you again. Thank you. I am no longer sorry. Neither should you be." Jane smiled. "You've definitely gone full purple about it." Vrain gave a slow, appreciative smile, and then was gone. She would come back whenever Jane asked. This was all a little hard to take in, so she was going to execute some commands here, get some experience before asking any new questions. She imagined the galaxy now as an interface, uplink, and command, so she said, "I want to know how to get to the Normandy from here." And she did. A map interface was available internally and as an overlay in a heads-up display. She knew it immediately, as though it had always been there. They walked back to the shuttle. The passageway opened because she asked it to. They loaded into the shuttle, and the shuttle brought them back to the Normandy. The shuttle was linked to the Normandy, and they were able to land the shuttle without assistance. Entering the bay, Jane stepped out and said, "Edie?" "Yes, Jane! Garrus! Thane! I'm a little disoriented, but everything's fine. It will be easier if I show you." Out of the elevator walked a human woman, skin sparking in green circuitry. A lovely, statuesque blonde with Edie's voice, and the poise she had exhibited inside the simulator, accompanied by a straight-walking Jeff. This is part of me. This is my platform. I'm also the ship. More the ship. Exactly the ship. Jane stepped forward and hugged her, some sort of potential connection made, but not the same as Garrus and Thane when they touched. Circuitry seemed to identify, but not directly link. Jane said on a hunch, "I'd like to be able to talk to you directly from any distance. I think that's possible. I think you need to agree." "Right, Yes! Now I need a contact list." Internally, she accessed prioritized listings, Vrain as one list of her own, Liara as a subset alternate interface, Senar Tualan, also known as Thane Krios, and a ridiculously long and annotated list of other identities, and Garrus Vakarian on their own list. Edie as the first name on a new list, followed by Jeff. Rather than get distracted by all the functions there, she redirected her attention back to Edie. "Any problems?" Edie gave a blank look. "This is my first day as a platform. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to coordinate," Jeff said with a huge grin. "She's doing fine." A woman entered the bay, rivaling Edie in beauty. Karen Shakwas, a younger self. Jane said quietly, "You can think of Rain and get a tutorial, ask her questions." Jeff said, "We've been a little busy just looking at each other." Karen laughed, stepped forward, and gave Jane a hug. "I've been rather distracted myself." Edie stared a moment and then said, "Yes, thank you. Communication has been disrupted, but only through alteration of interface. More efficient. I can reinitiate. The ships that have been traveling away from the Citadel are now on their way back. They've been able to communicate and establish docking. Some bright people there. I will identify any vessels having difficulty and coordinate with them and with David." "Where is David?" "It appears he is the Citadel in the same way I am the Normandy. I am able to communicate with him through direct link now that I have accessed Normandy's systems." Jane was getting the hang of this, and she said, "David Archer, requesting direct communication." She had access to Citadel systems, maybe that. David's name appeared on the list with Edie, Karen, and Jeff, and then the image faded. "David, how are you doing?" David's voice sounded in her head. "Commander Shepard, this is beyond all dreams come true. My physical form is gone, but all that is possible, all that is known, Vrain and this station, I have all I could want. Through her, all the knowledge that has been recorded. Rennie is on the Citadel and safe." Rennie's name showed up on the list, then faded. Jane thought to him, "Edie is re-establishing contact with incoming vessels. Can you coordinate with her and help them find berths? If I understand what Vrain told me, there will be no injuries, and food and water is not a concern, but the relays are down. People will need to stay on the Citadel or in their vessels. Relay that information and the directive to familiarize themselves with the new interface. Make sure people know how to ask questions. Get help. Do you need any help?" "It will be done. Thank you, Commander Shepard," she said out loud with a smile. "We did it. We did." She wanted to say more, but there was time. There was all the time now. It was slow to sink in. It would take repetition to come to terms with time, and no hunger, no thirst, no pain. She thought for a moment about the people on the ship and headed to the brig. She deactivated the stasis field and said, Congratulations. You won. Terms were that if we won, you're out. Need anything from me? He stepped forward and shook her hand, and the name Martin Wynne, also known as the Elusive Man and other names, showed up as a contact and faded. He said, "Interesting new world order. I believe I will go investigate. It appears clones were a good idea." He walked away with a smile. Her next stop was Camille Chambial, Priya, Bola, and another annotated list of IDs as long as Senar's, who was in an animated conversation with Jennifer, Tukalo, Jack, and Kasumi Goto. Jennifer looked up and said, "Ooh, look who's color-coordinated." Everyone else's skin seemed to glow green, but she, Garrus, and Thane continued to glow red, blue, and green. Camille said, "Perks of having your clone be a goddess now." Kasumi said, "Nice caper. Glad to be a part of it." Jane said to Camille, "Just wanted to let you know that you were free and all. Glad you figured it out." Camille said, "I'm thinking of staying." "You?" "The Normandy's my home. Anybody who has called her home before can always call her home again. We'll be grounded on the Citadel for a while." They found Kolyat, who launched himself at Senar with an enthusiastic and unstoppable embrace, Garrus's hand moving to hold hers as they watched, soft interconnectedness energizing her. She spoke a momentary prayer to the spirit of Irika, realizing they would never meet at the shore. Father and son would never again be separated, could know all and everything about each other, could spend the rest of time together as they chose. There would always be things, places, people that were past, and would always be some who had died minutes or hours or days, or only years before this event made them whole. Much had been preserved, but much was permanently lost. Kolyat was enthusiastic, boyish, overblown with praise and joy, Senar drinking it in with his eyes and skin. After the lengthy celebration of being present, it was Kolyat who said that there were people on the Citadel he wanted to see, to connect with, and that he would return. They had time. She checked in on Javik, who was in the cargo space holding his memory shard in his hands with a smile on his face. An actual smile. He looked up and seemed to see her, but his gaze turned, and it seemed he was looking at Senar. They both started to laugh and couldn't stop. She turned to look at Garrus, who shrugged but was smiling. They waited it out, occasionally looking back and forth between them, occasionally laughing herself in sympathetic reaction. Eventually, Javik said, "I have been in constant pain for my remembered existence, injuries, thoughts, circumstances. My battle is finished and all I lived for is gone. No more war. The Drell understands. He spent his life on nothing but annihilation. All the things we were, no longer of value. What am I now?" Senar laughed another burst, and then Jane said, "A unique part of a new whole, and I am proud to know you." Javik stood, reached out to her, and gave her a hug, and she was proud to know him. He was proud to be known. Senar could not stop laughing. Garrus picked him up, saying, "I'm taking this one to bed." Senar was nearly choked with laughter, and she was glad it was unnecessary to still breathe as he said, "This one is pleased to go." Yeah, I think we've done enough for one day. Garrus carried Sinar to the elevator and asked him, "So your name's Sinar, huh? Come here often?" Laughter continued, Garrus looking stunned and enraptured. Sinar pulled Jane's hand to him and said, "Siha, once I asked you what if I were nothing but hunger and death and lies. Add to that pain. Now they are all gone. No hunger, no death, no lies, no pain. What is left? I am undone." He did not seem upset about it, his laughter restarting. Garrus rolled his eyes slightly and carried him out to the bed in their cabin. Garrus snorted, put Sinar on his feet, and kissed him, pulling back to say, "You're not undone. You're remade. It doesn't have to make sense. My life, I've lived to serve justice. Have I? Sometimes. Was the universe interested in justice with me? No, not particularly. You were taken as a child, tortured, used. Is it justice that uncounted people in other cycles died in this war, but we lived? No. What if Jane had been a few hours late to Omega, or a few hours late to Dentius Towers? What if she'd gone into Bahak alone? It's not about justice, but if you think you don't deserve this, being remade, you're wrong. You made it happen. You brought our new goddess to her altar. You saw her as a goddess yourself first. You worship this woman. You're perfectly adjusted to this new reality, welcomed and loved here. You have a family, a home, a bondmate, a wristbound, and a son. That's what's left." She watched them kiss, embrace, and connect with glowing expanses of newly exposed skin and hide whose clothes were removed. She wondered if anybody would wear clothes for long, in or out of this room. This room she need never leave if she chose. Could stay with them, stay with the feel of them, the memory of them, never be alone with them racing under her skin. To never be alone. She turned from them, still connected, still a part of the racing passion. It would get stronger when she touched them, which would be soon. Right now, she kicked off her boot, took off her undersuit and sock, and placed her barefoot on the deck of the Normandy, and found her goddess, her guiding, ideal ship, alive and entwined with Edie, but also entirely herself, with the spirit of the ship vibrating into Jane, welcoming and fierce. Her name appeared on a contact list, the same list as Garrus and Sinar, and then faded. And Jane was a part of her. Inextricable communication. She was timelessly bound with communion with her muse until Garrus linked his elbow with hers and pulled her in with a growl. She need not end communion with anything, so she didn't. Enough room in her mind to stay fully present, loving and devoted to her path, her place, her mate, and her wristbound.